Right, good afternoon, Year 7s. It's Mr. Lane here. More video instructions for the next task that I'm setting you. And it's a speech. Yeah, so you've had some practice recently writing speeches, and I think that this one you'll enjoy. Perhaps more than the environment one. Some of those were excellent, by the way. It's a shame that I didn't get to give you the feedback properly. Most of the books are at school, but anyway, I mean, it doesn't matter because this is good practice for you. Writing to argue, writing to persuade. This one, moving away from environmental issues and whatnot, this one is about how to avoid cruelty, accept people different to you. So that is the theme of your speech. Avoid cruelty, accept people different to you. Because in our society, unfortunately, those with disabilities are, and it's an unfortunate fact, it is unfortunate, that they are often, not always, but often treated as second-class citizens, treated as less than the more able-bodied. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that? Why do we live in a society where these people can be subordinated or made to feel less or made to feel lower in status or rank? Yeah. So that word subordinate, you might want to look it up. Okay. It's spelt like this. Let me oh let me just write it for you here. Okay. So I'm just going to write it on my notes. I've been making some notes. Subordinate, yeah? So when you subordinate someone or when you subordinate a group, it means you kind of make them feel lower or lesser in status or rank, yeah? So black people in Americans as well, in Western societies generally, like the UK and European countries and the US, America in particular, black people were often subordinated. They were made subordinate by the white race. And in our society, disabled people are often subordinated. So this is what I want you to do, because I really want you to try and get your teeth into this and really write an emotional and powerful speech about why disability shouldn't matter in terms of how people are treated. Look, people should be treated equally. So the task is write a powerful, well-structured script. Sorry, that should say speech. Let me just... Let's start again. Write a powerful, well-structured, and the emphasis on well-structured, because structure is so important to making your speech coherent and clear and engaging, okay? So it's very important that it should be well-structured. Because like I said, to make it clear and very engaging, yeah? If it's all over the place, people are going to lose the thread. They're going to think that you're not an authority on your subject. They're going to think that you have not planned properly, and your work will therefore not have the impact that you desire. Because what you want your audience to do is to walk away from your speech, either reading it or listening to it, and you want them to walk away from it feeling inspired, uplifted, moved, and ready to change their ways or to really think about how they are interacting with disabled people. Okay, because sometimes being condescending and patronising to disabled people can be as bad as like being nasty and cruel. Disabled people don't want to be patronised. They don't want to be made to feel that they're special. They don't want that. Okay, we'll get onto that in a minute. So write a well-structured speech of approximately 250 to 300 words. It should encourage audiences to choose compassion over cruelty, by accepting those that are different, with a focus on the disabled, of course. Originally, I was going to say you could write about, racism as well, and homophobia as well, because obviously we have different races, we have difference, and we have different sexualities, difference. But do you know what? I think that would be too much. I think that would just get that would be too much, and I think that's too much for you. Just why not? Let's keep the focus on the disabled. Okay, I think that will make for a more kind of precise and interesting piece of work. I've given you key words that may help. So compassion. If you don't know any of these words, by the way, it's up to you to look them up. Okay, you've got the internet. No excuses. You should be looking these words up and learning independently. So this word that you may have heard, compassion and compassionate. Cruelty is obviously self-explanatory. Surely we all know what cruelty is. Narrow-mindedness. Inclusive, and inclusiveness. And you could also add there inclusivity. So, we should try as much to practice inclusivity in our society, in my opinion. Empathy, empathetic. Ignorance, ignorant. Discrimination, discriminate. So some big words there and some interesting words that might help you articulate your views on this subject. Discrimination, discriminate is an important one as well. More challenging vocabulary. If you want to challenge yourself, you could use words, and if you don't know what they mean, look them up. But alienate, yeah? Do we alienate people in our society? And if so, then we need to think about the consequences of that alienation. Loneliness, feeling left out. That's not a nice place to be, and we should be mindful of that. So alienate is an important word. Do look it up. Homophobia and Oh, actually, I'm going to take those out. I'll take those out. Ignore that one, because I just want you to focus on the disabled, not about other kinds of difference. Just the disabled. Hierarchy and hierarchical. So what does it mean to be hierarchical? Do we live in a society that's hierarchical? And what is a hierarchy? Again, look this up. A hierarchy is when you create kind of different levels of status and importance in society. Yeah. So we still live, and we have lived for centuries. We live in a very hierarchical society where we have, different classes, and people are treated differently. There's no doubt about it. This is an example. A lot of us seem to have a mind that thinks in hierarchies, i.e. we see some people as more worthy of respect than others, creating levels of status in the mind. Disabled people are often treated as if they are lacking, or that they aren't as important as able-bodied people. But does the disabled community deserve this treatment? So that's what we mean by hierarchy. Do look it up. It's an easy word to get your head around, and a good word to have in your vocabulary. So let's scroll up then. And I've said here, think about Oggy in Wonder. What is the one thing he wants? Perhaps more than anything. He wants to be seen as normal. He doesn't want to be defined by his disfigurement. He is a human with all the dimensions, the strengths and the flaws typical of anybody else. He isn't just the kid with the weird face. Okay? So Oggy doesn't want to be treated as special. Persuasive techniques, I won't go through all those. They are exactly the same as the ones that I gave you, and the ones that you were really brilliant on those, actually. You're really great. 1 to 8, you can have a look at those, but you know them by now because we've been studying them in the past month. Structure tips. Now, getting back to structure, this is where some of you fall down. Some of you are a bit kind of, how could I put it, a bit cavalier with your structuring. You're just like, I'll just throw anything on the paper. But good structure is important, kids, like I said earlier. So structure tips. What have I said? I've said the opening, the hook, as they call it, the hook. You got to hook your audience like a fisherman hooks a fish. You got to hook them and reel them in. In other words, get them excited and engaged. and get them listening to you. So one, you could start with a rhetorical question, or you could start with some hard-hitting, interesting facts and stats, or, and this is where I get a little bit long-winded, start with a personal story, okay? Now, this is often a gimmick, a strategy used by speech writers. Yeah, you start with the personal. Yeah, you bring it down to the personal. And I'll give you an example of how I've done that. Here we go. In fact, what I might do is I'll save this for video 2, okay? Okay, because they'll take ages to upload. So I'm going to save this for video 2. So do watch this one first, then watch video 2, and I'll see you in a moment.